My mother and father, Helen and Roger Brennan, certainly came together from two very, very different worlds. She, a farm girl raised in the Baptist tradition in a hardscrabble life, I would call it, in the great state of Arkansas. He, a city slicker and an Irish Catholic through and through, growing up in the Irish section of St. Louis, Missouri, because that's how they say Missouri in Missouri. And he was born with a little bit of a silver spoon in his mouth. The Great Depression would change that, would change their lives as it changed the lives of millions of people all over the world. And it would be one of the instruments, just one, but one of the instruments that ultimately resulted in their marriage of 40 years. When the stock market crashed in 1929, it became harder and harder for my grandma and grandpa Taylor to keep their sons and daughters, my mom included, on the farm. Like a lot of folks from Oklahoma and Arkansas in those days, and I have roots in both of those places. My mother and her siblings, my aunts and uncles, they all eventually made their way to California. Now, Grandma and Grandpa Taylor would follow them later after one tornado too many that hit the farm, and it hit the farm pretty hard. My dad's journey, believe it or not, to California was different and a bit more challenging, I think, because he had a higher distance to fall from. Grandpa Brennan's business in St. Louis failed during the Depression. So the whole family came out to make their way in life with other relatives on a chicken ranch, can you believe it, in the San Fernando Valley, Canoga Park. Amazing. That's where Dad was formed and fashioned as a teenager and young adult. Maybe that's why Dad didn't like chicken very much, and why Sunday dinner we didn't get chicken as often as we wanted to. Fast forward to the year 1939. We find a young man named Roger working for a then famous Hollywood actor as a messenger, an assistant, a gopher. On top of it all, he was riding a motorcycle. One day he happens to stop at a soda fountain. He sees a beautiful young woman working behind the counter. Yes, it's my mom. And the soda fountain suddenly becomes Dad's favorite spot. They fell in love. They decided to do something wonderful about that. They decided to get married. But this was not going to be easy. This was not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Remember my mom's Baptist background and my dad's Catholic upbringing? Well, I'd like to say that situation was a problem only for the Baptists, but sad to say, it was a huge problem, not only for them, but for the Catholic side too. My Irish Catholic grandparents and others in the family, they were not happy at all that Dad was even thinking about getting married to a Protestant, a farm girl. They were very upset. My grandpa Taylor wrote a letter to Dad respectfully asking him not to marry his daughter because, well, Catholics and Baptists just don't mix. Well, I guess after 10 children and 40 years of marriage, they do mix. So they put their lives together in the Catholic Church on December 17th, 1939, witnessed by the greatest priest I have ever known, my uncle, Father John Brennan, who had the wisdom and spiritual insight to just know that these two were meant for each other and that nothing and no one should stand in their way. Think about that, and think about the times when it happened. The world in 1939, it was falling apart. Though the United States wasn't in it yet, the Second World War had already begun. Europe was in flames, chaos was everywhere. In the midst of that, my mother and father believed in a different world, a world full of hope, a world full of promise. They radiated love and became a model of faithfulness, of perseverance, generosity, and goodness for generations to come.